In this video, we're going to look at an example of a projectile fired at an angle of elevation, alpha, with an initial velocity vector of v naught. We know that the parametric equations that describe the path of a projectile are given by x is equal to the magnitude of the initial velocity times the cosine of the angle of elevation as a multiplier of t, my parameter, and then mag v naught times the sine of that angle is a multiplier of the parameter. And then over here in the y parametric equation, we do have g that is going to represent the acceleration due to gravity, and that value is a constant, either 9.8 meters per second squared if we're in the metric system, or 32 feet per second squared if we are operating in the British system. And then h is going to be the initial height of the object. That would be 0 if the object was fired from the ground, and if it was fired from some platform, we would look at the height of the platform as being the h value. So let's take a look at our example. We have a projectile fired with an initial angle of elevation at alpha, which is 45 degrees, and an initial velocity of 50 meters per second. And right away I can tell that we are going to be in the metric system because of the fact that we have the velocity measured in meters per second. We're assuming no resistance, and the only external force is the force due to gravity. And what we want to do here is find the position vector of this projectile. So let's look at a concept drawing to make sure that we understand the given information. So here we have a Cartesian plane, and our horizontal axis is going to represent the parameter, which in this case is the amount of time that's passed, and the vertical axis is going to represent the height of the projectile, and we'll call that height h at t. So we have a projectile that's being fired like this. It goes up, it comes down, it hits the ground at some point. And we're given a couple of pieces of information that the angle of elevation at which the projectile was fired was 45 degrees. And we also know that we have an initial velocity of 50 meters per second. So we could turn this scalar quantity into a vector initiating at the origin, and we would say that this projectile was fired initially at an angle of 45 degrees. I changed my graph a little bit there so that it seems a little bit more like an initial angle of 45 degrees as our angle of elevation. And the magnitude of this initial velocity vector, or the length of that vector, is going to be 50 units long to represent the magnitude of the velocity. So this concept drawing basically describes the given information. Now, as we saw a moment ago, the x parametric equation is mag v naught times the cosine of alpha as the multiple of t. The y parametric equation is mag v naught sine alpha times t minus 1/2 the acceleration due to gravity, t squared, and we do need to consider the initial height of the projectile, but since there's no information about the initial height, we're going to assume that it was shot from the ground and then the initial height was 0. So now we're going to find the position vector. We're basically just going to use the formulas for these parametric equations in order to come up with this position vector. So the magnitude of the initial velocity was 50 times the cosine of the angle, and the original angle of elevation was 45 degrees. That is going to be my multiplier on t, and then for my y parametric equation, we're going to have mag v naught, which is 50 again, times the sine of 45 degrees, and that's going to be my multiplier on t. Now, 1/2 times the acceleration due to gravity, oops, this is t squared here. Since we're in the metric system, the acceleration due to gravity that we're going to be using is 9.8 meters per second squared. So we're just using that constant value, 9.8. The second squareds actually cancel each other out when I square the time here. So the units work out in our favor, and then we use that as a multiple of t squared. So let's simplify these. We have 50 times the cosine of 45 degrees, which is rad 2 over 2, times t, and then we have for our y parametric equation, 50 times the sine of 45 degrees is also rad 2 over 2. That's multiplied by t. Minus 1/2 times 9.8 is going to be 4.9, and then we have t squared. Continuing to simplify, this then gives us 25 rad 2s times t as my x parametric equation, and 25 rad 2s times t minus 4.9 t squared as my y parametric equation. So we can then turn these two parametric equations into a vector function where the x component is the x parametric equation and the y component is the y parametric equation, and this would be the answer to part A. Now, part B says, when does the projectile strike the ground? So back in our concept drawing, the projectile strikes the ground at this point, and what we're being asked to find is what is the time value that causes that to happen. So we know now that our vector function that represents this projectile's path is 25 rad 2 times t, and let's call this negative 4.9 t squared plus 25 rad 2 times t to get my y parametric equation in descending order. Now, what do we know about this point in time? Whatever the value of time is that causes us to strike the ground, what we know about that vector is that while we may not know how far out it is, we do know that the y component of that vector has to be 0, right? Because the vector function is going to have a terminal point that matches the components of the vector. The terminal point is going to have some x-coordinate and the y-coordinate is going to be 0. So what we can do here then is say, I don't know where we hit the ground, but I do know that when we do, the y component of this vector function has got to be equal to 0. So let's take just this bit, set it equal to 0, and solve for t. So we're taking the y component of the vector function, setting it equal to 0, and then solving for t. What we end up with here is a pre-calculus algebra quadratic equation, and we can factor out the common t to get 4.9 t plus 25 rad 2s left after I factor out that t is equal to 0. Now I can set each of these factors equal to 0. This gives us one solution for t. The other solution is going to come from subtracting 25 rad 2s from both sides, so that we end up with 4.9t is equal to negative 25 rad 2s. And then in order to completely solve for t, we'll divide both sides by 4.9 to get that t is approximately equal to, I'm getting 7.22. And my time is measured in seconds as it was with the given initial velocity. So time is equal to 0 and time is equal to 7.22 seconds. Back up to our concept drawing. At time is equal to 0, when I plug that into my position vector function, I get the 0 vector, basically. And that's not the one that we're looking for. Time is equal to 0 is when we launch the projectile, not when the projectile strikes the ground. So the other answer for time, which was 7.22 seconds, is the one that we're actually looking for. Because when I plug 7.22 into my vector function, we end up with, let's see, we don't know the x value, but we do know that the y coordinate is equal to 0, and the answer to the question in part B is going to be just the 7.22 seconds. In part C, we're being asked to find the maximum height of the projectile. Let's go back to our concept drawing to take a look at how we might figure that out. Now in this particular case, because we stop and start on the ground, we can assume that the maximum height is going to be right here smack in the middle. I know that we have 7.22 seconds as the amount of time that it takes me to hit the ground again, so I could just divide that time in half to figure out when we reach that maximum height and then plug that into my vector function. However, as soon as we fire this projectile from an elevated platform, that is not going to work anymore. So we need to and are going to follow a procedure that always works whether or not we are firing our projectile from the ground or from an elevated platform. So we're intentionally not going to take the shortcut here in this case. When I reach a maximum height, what we're going to notice here is that at the maximum height, I have a tangent line that is going to be horizontal. I also know that the velocity vector is a vector that's going to be in the direction of the tangent line. Now, generally, I wouldn't know when this happens. I would have to figure out when it happens. Again, we kind of know it's half of 7.22, but we're going to assume we didn't know that and say, how would I figure out when I reach the maximum height? Well, since the velocity vector is in the direction of the tangent line, and the velocity vector is going to have components where I'm traveling some distance in the direction of x, but check it out, that vector does not have any movement in the direction of y. So my velocity vector has a y component of 0. So essentially, I can figure out when we reach the maximum height by taking a look at the velocity vector and setting its y-coordinate equal to 0. We set the y value equal to 0 of the position vector because we know the position of the projectile was at a y-coordinate of 0 when it hits the ground, but we're setting the y-coordinate of the velocity vector equal to 0 because we know that the tangent line is horizontal and there's no movement or no change in the direction of y. So we need to find the velocity vector. As a reminder, our position vector function was 25 rad 2t's minus 4.9 t squared plus 25 rad 2t's. So the velocity vector is going to be the first derivative of the position vector, and so we just differentiate each of the individual components to get 25 rad 2 is the derivative of the x component, and the derivative of the y component is negative 9.8 t plus 25 rad 2's. And as we mentioned before, we're going to take this y component and set this equal to 0 in order to determine when that velocity vector is going to be horizontal. And so here we go. We have negative 9.8 t. We're going to subtract 25 rad 2's from both sides here, and then divide both sides by negative 9.8. By the way, I am rounding this off, so I'm going to do approximately equals 2, and there should be no surprise that that's exactly half of the time that it took to hit the ground. But we found this in a way that works every time, whether we fire from the ground or fire from a raised platform. So now that we know when we reach that maximum height, in order to determine what the maximum height actually is, let's return to our concept drawing. The maximum height is going to be the y component of the position vector at the time when I achieve the maximum height. Since we know that the height is achieved at 3.61 seconds, we can really just plug it into this position vector to determine essentially the y coordinate or the y component that gives us that max height. Now, we could plug it into the whole vector, or we could really just plug it into the y component because we know that that y component is going to correspond to the height of the projectile. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to plug that time into just the y component here. So we'll have negative 4.9 t squared, the time is 3.61 seconds squared, plus 25 rad 2t's, again 3.61, and then we just need to determine what this quantity is. We do want to use the entire decimal for 3.61, not the rounded off value, because we don't want to generate a rounding error. So in my calculator, I'm going to use not 3.61, but the entire decimal that came from 25 rad 2 divided by 9.8. And when I do that, I get that the max height is 63.78, and this is measured in meters. The last part of this question says to find the projectile's speed when it hits the ground, and the speed is going to be given by the magnitude of the velocity vector. So to find the speed, we need to know when the projectile hits the ground, and we already found that information. That information was 7.22 seconds, and I actually should take this value and store it into my calculator. Not just store 7.22, but store the entire decimal quantity so that we don't generate a round-off error. That would mean back here storing 25 rad 2 divided by 4.9. That quantity with all its decimals should be what we store into x. As a reminder, the velocity vector turned out to be 25 rad 2's and then negative 9.8 t plus 25 rad 2, and that was my y component. So to get the velocity vector when we hit the ground, we're going to plug 7.22 into the parameter, and we'll end up with 25 rad 2s as the x component and negative 9.8 times t plus 25 rad 2s as the y component. And again, in for t, we're going to plug in this 7.22 time value. Now, let's evaluate. And negative 9.8 times 7.22 plus 25 rad 2s, that turns out to be negative 35.36 when we round correctly. In order to determine the speed, now we're going to need to evaluate the magnitude of this velocity vector, which means that we'll be taking each of those components, squaring them and adding them together. So we have 25 rad 2 squared plus, I want to store this value into my calculator again so I don't generate a rounding error, then square that and then take the square root, which gives me exactly 50. Without having to round off. Now, if you didn't store your values, you may get a value that's not quite exactly 50, but if you're careful and store all your quantities, this turns out to be an exact value. And this value actually isn't a surprise because that's the velocity that we started off being. And since we were fired from the ground, it makes sense that we would have that same velocity when we return to hit the ground that we did when we initially started. Now, elevate this, put it on a platform, and of course that changes, but when we were on the ground, that is something that we can expect to see.